Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, the Fellow KGB. You can follow me on Twitter at the Fellow KGB. And tonight, it's the Tuesday night hangout. It's about 6:30 p.m. Central Time here. We just got John to join too, and I just went live, and John just joined. So what's going on, man? We're live here, so I just wanted to put it on time tonight. So we're on the 6:30 schedule here, and welcome to the show, John. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up? What's up? Usually don't come in
Coming in
straight
hot.
live, but hey, coming in hot. I just want to say I had something I wanted to say, which makes me feel good. Aaron Rodgers, I think he should be the permanent Jeopardy host for all time, and until he doesn't want to do that anymore. He's awesome. That's been something I've been paying attention to lately.
Yeah,
How are you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing great. We got the bad news that Drake won't be on the show tonight. He's kind of busy with he's going to Las Vegas this weekend, and he's also. Have you heard about the moving news?
They're moving too?
They're going to be moving to Green Bay.
They're moving to Green Bay. Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's big moving news.
I think they got Melanie starts her new job like mid-May, so kind of breaking that. But if you're watching it, Drake won't be with us tonight. I think he might be able to come back next Tuesday, so we'll see and try to get him on the schedule. But man, it's
cheers, Drake! Congratulations, that's exciting.
Congratulations to Drake. It's a beautiful night out too. Like I have my windows and everything open. Like it's a good Tuesday night.
Amen, man. Amen. Yeah, it's 80 degrees right now in Chicago, according to my cellular device, and those things don't lie. So
we are being treated with some good weather, but I don't know, man. This fantasy basketball thing, I figured maybe we get a little bit more personal with this fantasy basketball show because you've been on a pretty good run with Mount Zion here. I kind of want to maybe we talk about some of the players on your team that have been helping you win some games. I've been noticing some of your moves, man. You picked up Grayson Allen. I was looking for him at like 8 a.m. this morning, but you already scooped him.
I have the luxury of having a lot of trash, so I just get to recycle my trash pretty regularly, and just like I feel like I'm making moves every day at this point because I have like 5-6 players that are not droppable, and the rest. And we have big rosters, Kyle, with the extra bench spot this year. I really feel like there's just so much more to play with. And my draft was so bad, so I'm just rotating things. Saturansky, let's put it this way. Very recently, of past 2 weeks, Saturansky has been hot. He's been really, really nice. Big, useful piece for me. Probably won't let him go. And who else is the other guy? Wendell Carter. That's who I'm looking for. He's still in the red jersey, and my eyes get cross-eyed when I'm looking for him. But yeah, Wendell Carter, since he's been in Orlando, has been absolutely unleashed. And that's within the last week. I beat one of our highest scoring teams in our league with basically just on Wendell's back.
Mm-hmm.
And James Harden hamstring for my opponent. So
you drafted Wendell. You've held on to him the entire time, and now I think you're just now getting the full fruit of his draft pick here. But
dumb luck.
Yeah, but 3 straight games over 40 points for fantasy. He's been on my waiver wire shows the last couple of weeks since he's been traded to Orlando. So, I mean, Orlando's got some fun players to play with here. And then I see you've been riding Jackson Hayes here just because of the injuries to Zion, Ingram, and Lonzo. But I think Zion's returning tonight.
Is he officially returning tonight? Oh, shoot. That game just started, didn't it?
You got time. It starts like any minute, but it does say he will return tonight. So you'd have to drop someone to get him in the lineup tonight. But and then I was looking at Corey Joseph because I think on my show, I recorded my waiver wire show on Sunday nights, and the Detroit Pistons had 5 games this week. And then I go to look, and of course you snagged Corey Joseph. All the other Detroit Pistons were snagged. But Corey Joseph's been pretty decent lately. The minutes have been down as they get healthier at point guard. Killian Hayes was back last night, but not tonight. So they're kind of just easing him back into the fold. And then, I don't know, maybe we should spend some time. Justin's got one of the guys that I picked up. I picked up Flynn as well. Maybe I'll go over to my team. And then I think we'll get into the James Harden news, and we'll kind of talk about what's going to happen over the next 10 days in Brooklyn to see who's going to be replacing those points. But I'm curious, John, do you know who Malachi Flynn is?
I have not watched him very much, but yeah, I definitely have seen him this year.
So I just watched a couple of his highlights. I'm just searching his name on Twitter. You see some of his moves, but with Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet out recently, he's been playing very, very well. And what I like about him is he's going to touch a little bit of everything in the column here. You see his game the other night, 46 fantasy points. But as long as Lowry and Fred VanVleet are on the shelf, I pretty much just picked him up for one game to see how it goes, and we'll monitor those guys' health. But kind of excited about him. No one really. He's 4.4% owned. If I can get 20 points out of him tonight, I'll be pretty happy.
Oh yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. He's getting so many minutes. I mean, you just mentioned it's a wasteland in Toronto right now.
Toronto needs minutes. They need players to produce. So, and then the other guy that I've been pretty happy with has been Hamidou Diallo. And I was disappointed last week because he's been sitting on the second end of a back-to-back. You see the 26th and 27th here. He missed the game. And then same here with 31st and 1st. But tonight, I think he's playing. I haven't heard any news that they're going to hold him out tonight. So they played last night. He's playing tonight. And when he plays, he's actually been one of their more consistent players. So I like I don't know if you heard when you were doing your lineup settings, but the Pistons play 5 games this week. I'm sure you saw that. That's probably why you picked up Corey Joseph.
Yeah.
The Pistons are in flux right now. They're going to try to get these minutes, and then maybe we should. I don't know. Let's pump up the Killian Hayes party. I know Drake's not here for the Killian Hayes, but I'm assuming it's just like a minutes restriction kind of thing where they wanted to make sure he's good to go. And
I think they have a back-to-back today as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you just said Detroit. Yeah, of course. Yes.
So they're kind of just taking it easy with him, which I'm totally fine with. I mean, they got nothing going on this year, so why not? Kind of just get him like roared back up. But he had a hell of a game last night. It was technically his second game back. 9 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks. I love seeing the defensive columns here. But probably his best fantasy game in his 9 or 10 games for his career. So,
absolutely, yeah. Probably the best game of his career, yeah. Potentially.
So what's the value of a Killian Hayes the rest of the way?
I don't know. I mean, if they're going to play him games, if they're going to play him 25, 30 minutes plus, and he's going to play most games, I think he's got interesting upside. But, you'd certainly like to see a little more action before you make a pickup. But he might be a hot commodity. I really don't know. You just got to kind of feel out your league. Some leagues, I feel like younger players are much more attractive, whereas other leagues, people don't even know who Killian Hayes is. So know your league, and if you need to grab him now and you're interested in him, do it. Otherwise, I probably wait at least a couple games.
And I
see what I see, because he's we're talking about guys not playing on back-to-backs. He's definitely one of them right now, and he could be for the rest of the season. So that's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yep. So I just wanted to pull up the Pistons start because they got Saban Lee, who's an interesting guy who's probably getting the start tonight. But they also have Dennis Smith Jr., Corey Joseph. They got some capable guards here, so they don't have to ease Killian back in, or they can ease him back in. They don't have to put him in minutes per game. But this Saban Lee is kind of an interesting guy too. If you see word that Killian Hayes is out, Saban Lee sometimes can do some nice things. I was looking at him this morning. It's very inconsistent. It's really minutes dependent, but he had a nice little run here with getting 26 and 24 minutes. But I don't know. The Pistons.
Yeah, I was debating between, you mentioned I grabbed Corey Joseph, and that was it was him, Dennis Smith Jr., and Saban Lee. I was debating between all 3 of them, and I was looking at Killian Hayes as well, but well, maybe he was rostered. I don't even know, but I was definitely looking at like the whole Pistons team, and it was a hard decision. But I decided to go with Corey because I felt like he would get minutes no matter who's healthy. He's just kind of like he's your bench guy.
Corey Joseph seems to have a safe floor where he's going to kind of touch a little bit of all the stats. Where you'll get a 17 point for a bad game, and that's totally acceptable if he goes off for 30-some the next. But in my other league on ESPN, I was able to pick up Josh Jackson for the week.
Nice.
5 games, and I was pretty excited about that. He hasn't really been what he was in the beginning of the season, like in January and early parts of February. But he did have a nice game the other night, 31 points. That was back on the first. So he's kind of locked into some, maybe 5th, 6th man minutes here. But everything else, okay. So for 5 games, I'll take it. But I don't know. We'll see here. And then we got, did you hear about Malik Beasley moving on to the Minnesota Timberwolves?
Beasley, I told you, Beasley's off my radar. I just feel like guys like that, they're not gonna, at least not the same year, they're not gonna come back and be useful. So far my random theory has proven okay, but I mean, I know he got injured, but you come back, no playing, you get right on the court, and you pull a hammy. I mean, it's a tale as old as sports time, Kyle. So
Mhm.
it's not just the moral compass of it all. It's also the just like he's he's very cold. He's coming in cold.
And the part that concerned me is like I was waiting for him to come back, and then I see 30 minutes right away out of the gate. First game back in how
Yeah.
for 4 weeks, so that was kind of a shocker. But now,
What are the Timberwolves doing? Like he's one of your he's definitely a future piece for them, or at least an important like trade piece for them, whatever you want to call it. Like why are they rushing him back, especially when they just got D'Angelo back? Like Edwards, why are we trying to take the ball out of Edwards' hands right now? Like what are we doing?
and it kind of like just the last few games, it's been Jaden McDaniels who's gotten some weird minutes. But Justin in the chat room's asking, is McDaniels a go? And I think if you're in a 10-man league, it's a thinker. But in a 12-man league, I think Jaden McDaniels needs to be owned. He's only 15% owned, and you can kind of just see what he's been up to the last 3 weeks or so. And he's a good consistent scorer. He's going to touch a little bit on all the stats as well. And now that Malik Beasley's back out of the picture, this is a guy that I think can help you down the stretch, at least get to the playoffs and beyond. Um, but as far as Minnesota Timberwolves, I mean, we love the Anthony Edwards. I can't believe he's still being very consistent in the scoring. But Karl Anthony Towns has been phenomenal. Like, because you have Karl Anthony Towns, yes?
I do not, Dave.
Hey,
I love Anthony Edwards' roster share at 90+% too.
yeah.
That's fun. But yeah, Dave has Cat.
But Cat's been when I've filtered. If I go to, we just
That's
go
great.
to everybody, and we just filter like the last 7 days. Karl Anthony Towns is the leading scorer. He's the number one.
Sure, yeah.
And look at number 2 and 3.
Wow.
Big money, Drew, dude.
Yeah, Drew. If it weren't for Aaron Rodgers, I'd be all over the Drew news. But
He's really stepped up his game the last 4 games, man.
well, absolutely. I mean, I feel like the preseason was just the first half of the year, pre All-Star break, and now some of the teams are trying to kind of flip a switch in some of the players, and I feel like Drew Holiday has kind of decided this second half of the season he's going to show up and do what he can, and so far it's been pretty impressive.
And I was a little disappointed in the Bucks because they had that 7-game win streak. They were like 12-1 on a little thing there. Then they lose 2 in a row, but now they're kind of getting it back into the swing of things. And it's kind of like what you said. Like it took a while. There's new pieces, new components. You lose George Hill and Eric Bledsoe. That's going to take a little while to replace that. So I think the Bucks are starting to get it turned around at the right time. It's kind of fun. But not, since we're looking
when's the last time in Drew Holiday's career where he's truly played the point guard position? I mean, the Milwaukee Bucks have, if you don't consider Drew Holiday a point guard, which some people don't, the Bucks literally have one point guard on their roster.
Mm-hmm.
So he's playing the true number one spot on a team for the first time ever, and I think people say it all the time. Center and point guard are the two most tricky positions to play, to master in the NBA. And especially maybe to master, it's probably even the point guard. And he's adjusting to this role on this team with super high expectations. I mean, championship aspirations. Of course it was going to take some time. And I don't know if he can keep this kind of level of play up, but he's certainly an all-star caliber player.
And good things take time. The Bucks are starting to hit it, and he's like a Balco running back in fantasy football. I think the rest of the way, just because he's got that money out of the way now, he's feeling good. He's kind of settled into Milwaukee, and the Bucks are like, it's nice that they're not like, they don't have the spotlight on them right now like they have in the last couple of years. And I think watch the Bucks play, and there's a lot of smiles and fun. It looks like the Bucks are having fun. So I like Drew Holiday for if you want to buy low. It's kind of hard to buy low after he's been going off here, but I do like Drew Holiday the rest of the way. But as we look at the last 7 days, Just who sticks out here on this list? A couple guys stick out. I'm filtering by averaging points the last 7 days. Who sticks out on this list?
Capella, Robert Williams. Um, let's be honest, Vucevic for sure because of the trade. I think that's really impressive. Michael Carter Williams, I bet he's got some kind of weird sample size thing.
Yeah.
If he's played every game, that would blow my mind.
It's just
Because
one.
it says he's out, so I think that's some weird thing. And Draymond's kind of interesting. 45 fantasy a game for Draymond is bizarre, especially because he's the master of like scoring 4 points a game. So good for Draymond.
It's just a sample of 2 games here.
Sure. Well, if that's fair though. But yeah, and those are some of the guys that stand out. But let me say also, Damian Lillard's on this list, and Drew Holiday guarded Damian Lillard the entire game. The Bucks played the Blazers, and Holiday. I mean, Lillard had a great game. He scored a lot of points, but Holiday made his life hell. He worked his butt off. 34 minutes, 32 points. That's a lot of effort for Dame. And Drew Holiday also scored a bunch of points, took Dame into the post a bunch. It was hilarious to watch Drew Holiday punish Dame in the post. It's fun to see them both on this list because they just squared up. And Dame, I think everyone in the league, anyone that knows anything about basketball would tell you Dame is better for sure. But they just squared up one-on-one, and basically every minute they were on the floor together, they were matched up against each other. And I thought Drew held his own for sure.
He's not that far behind. I think a lot of people are going to start to realize now that he's in a playoff situation. I think a lot of people are going to learn about Drew Holiday in the coming weeks.
Yeah,
the one guy that I'm super happy to see on this list. I think I've been talking about him like the last month, saying you gotta pick him up. You gotta pick him up. It's been however long here, and when they got Daniel Tice out of the way at the trade deadline, his minutes are starting to peak. If you look at his last 7 days, he's up about 7 minutes compared to his season average. He's up about 10 points compared to his season average. Rebounds are up, assists are up, steals and blocks are down a little bit. That's weird, but Robert Williams, I think, man, if you're still in an 8-man league and he's available, I think you got to make sure he gets owned. But
he's 80% rostered now, Kyle. Just 2 weeks ago, he was under 40%. It felt like
it's been a slow grow, but it's starting to get figured out here. I just want to see some of the comments.
The people are listening to you, I think.
We got Aaron Keenan asking, when is PJ Tucker going to make a debut?
Well, he debuted already, Aaron, but when is he going to make his re-debut? That's a great question. I'm not sure. He's got it was either a knee or an ankle. It's definitely a lower leg thing that he did in his injury. Maybe calf. There you go. Down at the news section there, it said calf. But yeah, I think the Bucks he's a playoff piece. The Bucks and PJ Tucker. I mean, he needs to get some games in, but there's a chance you don't see him until the playoffs.
Yeah, we got what? I think there's like maybe when do the actual playoffs start?
The play-in games start in like 1 month and 1 week. I believe it's like May 11th, 12th. The play-in games begin. I think that first one has it. I bet they all do. They're all NBA.com.
I don't see dates.
There you go. Friday or Tuesday, May 18th is when it's starting.
Roughly the 3rd week of May here. But man, we're getting down to the final fantasy basketball push. I think there's 3 regular season weeks left. So I don't know. This is kind of a fun, exciting time. I just want to open the floor. I guess let me answer a couple of these questions. We had some guys talking about some trades here. I just want to shout out Justin. He traded away Kemba and Malcolm Brogdon for CJ and Harrison Barnes. That's an interesting one. Some big names in that one.
That seems like a pretty good trade, especially with Brogdon kind of falling off the rails right now.
Yeah, the Brogdons, because I played Dalton last week, and so I was watching Brogdon, and like he killed me in one game. He had the 43 points here in one game, and then I don't know if this was the game where he got injured, but he's been sitting out with a hip injury the last few games here. So TJ McConnell is a great ad right now if you're needing some guys. We can look at some of those other injuries too here, but Brogdon is hurt for a little bit. And then CJ McCollum, man, he's picked up kind of right where he left off before his injury. And he's a pretty pivotal player right now for fantasy. So I like that trade quite a bit. But I don't know, man. I just want to open up the floor for you, John. Like, what any topics or teams? Like, what do you want to look at here?
Um, let's see. We could take a peek. What's going on with the Lakers? Who's like actually doing stuff with all the star power out?
Well, they
Because
signed.
Drummond's not even playing still, right? Like
I think
because of
he's
his
due back.
toenail.
I think he's due back in the next game or two. But they signed Ben McElmore today, um, so that's kind of interesting here. Let's see, Drummond. He'll miss another game Tuesday. I think his next. I don't know if they play tomorrow night. When's his next opportunity to play? So Thursday night. That's when he can play here. But
Okay.
it didn't seem too serious. It sounded like he lost a toenail. um,
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
So we'll see. But Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Kuzma, those guys continue to be the bell cows here. I don't get it. Kuzma is still under 60% owned. I don't know. It's been kind of disappointing. I guess this isn't that disappointing. He'll have a not so great game every now and then. But for 12-man leagues, I think he needs to be owned. They're just tipping off against Toronto now. But
Yeah, he's definitely a nice piece still. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's nothing that exciting. Schroeder has definitely seen the biggest bump, but beyond that, not much has changed. It feels like
so
Kuzma's definitely improved.
The Lakers right now have fallen all the way to the 5th seed. They are 4th
Yeah,
in the last 10 days. I don't think there's any clarity on when LeBron and AD are coming back yet. It might be another 2-3 weeks to even get one of those guys back. So if you're like the Lakers here, they're 7 games out of first. But I mean, they could be in danger of falling, to the 7th seed. I don't think we're going to see them dip down to this 8th seed where Memphis is 12 and a half games behind. But if the Mavericks kind of go on a run here, like the Mavericks have been hot, they're 7-3 over their last 10 games. LA, man, we might see LA versus a number 2 seed, which that would make for some great first round TV. That's for
we
sure.
might see the LA in a play-in game.
Well, it's the 7 versus the 9 or 7 versus the 10 in that situation, correct?
It's 7. So I was misinformed when I spoke on the subject last week, and I read about it a little bit today. The 7 and the 8 seed play each other, and the winner of that game is immediately in the 7 spot. And then the 9 and the 10 team play each other, and the winner of that game plays the loser of the 7 and 8 game, and then the winner of that final game, that last game, goes into the 8 spot, whoever that is. So it's weird, but I love it. It sounds
That's
fun.
interesting. So what if the 8 seed loses against the 7 seed? Are they thrown out basically?
No. Then they play the winner of the 9-10 seed.
So
So the
you got
loser of the 7-8 seed plays the winner of the 9-10 seed, and then the winner of that game gets the 8 seed.
Okay, yeah, I like that. That's actually really wise. That's well done.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Is a cool new little wrinkle here, I think, to the NBA. But
the Lakers could play in that for that play-in game. They could, so basically they would get 2 chances to win a play-in game if they were the 7 or the 8 seed.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's a really sweet setup. I like that quite a bit. But yeah, man, I don't know. I wanted to kind of look at some of the news here. I guess the big news today was that James Harden's out for the next 10 days. So maybe we should look at the Brooklyn Nets real quick.
Yeah, the Nets, and I think KD. I think I was just reading at some point today. I was taking a little break and was reading about Kevin Durant. I'm pretty sure he's coming back very
tomorrow.
Soon. Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
So last chance to get Kevin Durant if you're looking to make some deals. But man, this is a good time, I guess. No James Harden. So Kevin Durant's probably going to be on a minutes. They should probably only give him 15 to 20 minutes max in that first game back. But how are we looking at the Brooklyn Nets right now? I think the first guy that would make sense would be Bruce Brown. Just steps into the starting lineup for James Harden. So if we're answering the question, if you have James Harden, is there someone that you add from the Brooklyn Nets, or should we look and maybe find some other guys that might be of service? But I guess if you're looking strictly at the Nets, I do think Bruce Brown's been pretty reliable when he gets to that 30-minute mark. You see the 29s and the 30s here, over 20 fantasy points when he's over 20 some minutes. So I like Bruce Brown if you're looking to just plug and play with the same team. But what are your thoughts on, I guess, any other Brooklyn Nets here? I mean, Aldridge has stepped back in and played pretty well himself too.
Yeah, no, I think Brown is the natural choice. He's kind of been the jack of all trades. Kyrie's hurt, Bruce Brown comes in. Harden's hurt, Bruce Brown comes in. KD gets hurt, Bruce Brown comes in. So he's been a very, very like high utility bench guy for them. I think he's kind of the only choice. Shamit maybe would have been a good choice, but I don't know what his injury status is. I guess Lulu Cabarro is kind of next in line. Maybe Tyler Johnson's out, so maybe Choza. I mean, you're really digging deep on the roster. So, yeah, it's Bruce Brown or no one. That's basically what there is to say about that.
All right, and then I did whip up a custom watch list just for this show.
Ooh, let's go.
Because my guy Justin here in the chat room, I mean, everyone's kind of feeling the injury bug. He's got Harden on his team, SGA, Jarrett Allen, and John Wall. So I think everybody could use a little bit of just insurance from the free agent, the waiver wire, if you will. So I was just gonna, I don't know. I went through and I looked at the last 7 days. And I just kind of picked a list of people who seemed under-owned. And at the top of the list, I guess, Dante DiVincenzo's we've talked about DiVincenzo a lot. I think he's owned most 12-man leagues, but if you're in a 10-man league, maybe even in an 8-man league, I just think he's such a core piece to what Milwaukee does. You can bank on him. He's consistent minutes. And I like the ferocity. Like he's such a good defender. You know, he doesn't need to score for him to have a good fantasy day. So I like DiVincenzo here. But Bogdanovich, who we talked about, I don't remember who asked the question about Bogdan last week, but he's been just going off. You see 47, 50, 48. A 24 is now, if that's a bad game from Bogdan right now, we're looking at some pretty good numbers here. And then with the DeAndre Hunter news, who's going to be out for a little bit yet, Atlanta, man, there's a lot of minutes to go around.
And Trae Young is not healthy at all.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the Hawks Warriors game maybe 2 or 3 days ago, maybe even a little longer. But Trae Young was just he actually didn't play the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter in a relatively competitive game because he was hurt.
And I guess we could look at Atlanta in a little bit here too. But I think last Tuesday we also mentioned that John Collins was going to be out, so I recommended Capella in a trade if you could go get him. But Bogdan's only 61% owned. I just with the injuries to Atlanta, I think you're looking at a guy here that's probably going to just stay hot. And if you see a guy scoring multiple times in a row, 20 points per game, that's something that you kind of want to attach yourself to. And what was the cap? Like they didn't have to. They just simply signed him to a money contract, right? They didn't trade for Bogdan.
No, they did a sign and trade. So Sacramento signed him to like a 4-year, $120 million contract, $100 million contract, something like that. And Atlanta had to trade for him.
Interesting.
It's fascinating that the two guys a part of the botched DiVincenzo trade are at the top of this list. That's kind of more of a coincidence, but very interesting, Kyle.
So we got Bogdanovich and Bogdanovich here.
And then you got the double Bogdan
owned in this ESPN setting here. But he's not a sexy pickup here. I'm thinking this is more for probably 10-team leagues here, but I just thought I'd throw him on the list. I think are
you talking about Bojan Bogdanovic or Bojan Bogdanovic, Kyle?
Because we pretty much only play in 12-man leagues, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that we would be able to pick up a Brook Lopez, a Rui Hachimura, TJ McConnell, Jakob Poeltl, Lou Williams, these guys are all kind of hard to find in a 12-man league. So I kind of like looking below 50. Of course, Wendell Carter Jr., we've talked about him earlier. Moses Brown, for some reason, he's been dropping. He's under 50% still. So he's probably the one guy that I think if you're looking to replace Harden and you want to just snag somebody, this would be one of the main guys here. His points have been dipping, but I don't know. Any more love real quick for Moses Brown?
Moses is awesome, man. He's really talented. But he's right now, especially like his most recent stretch, I feel like he might be more of a fringe guy for a 10, 12-team league, depending on, bench size and all that fun stuff. I mean, this guy, he's if you have a normal ESPN roster in a 10-team league, he's really on the fringes for me. I think you probably should own him, but I mean, there's a chance you have better guys that you can't afford to drop for a guy like this.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering here, I'll open it up to you. I made this watch list. Anyone else like stick out to you here on this list that you would be interested in making sure they're on your team at least? So I guess the question was with James Harden the next 10 days, but is there anybody on this list here that sticks out to you more than the others?
Saturansky, man, I don't know what the hell's going on with this guy, but he is all of a sudden a part of the roster, a part of the rotation, and he is he's playing like a weird point guard role for them. I don't know if he's even starting or coming off the bench or whatever, but he's been bizarrely useful for a weird stretch of time. I think he actually could continue. But again, he's same category as Moses Brown for me. He's a fringe like 10-team league guy. Like if you're in a 12-team league, this is a guy you might be excited to get, depending on how competitive. But and whatever. But I like him a lot. Dwight Howard is on a massive rebounding streak.
Yep.
As long as Embiid is out, I think Howard is interesting and useful. I mean, is Embiid back?
Embiid is back. And here, let me actually.
How long has he been back? Because Dwight has been stacking rebounds recently.
I think they're just being really cautious with Joel. And I thought I saw him play on Saturday. I don't know if he's played since. But because I saw the Sixers had a back-to-back sometime in the last few days. They had a back-to-back. So I picked up Dwight just because. And Joel Embiid, let's see here. So he's playing tonight, and he played on the 3rd. So he didn't play back-to-back here. So even then, I still think Dwight Howard's got some useful, numbers in a 12-man league. They did get rid of Tony Bradley. They don't really have a clear number 2 backup behind Joel, and I don't think we're going to see them push Joel right back into what he was before. So I think Dwight Howard's a fine, useful player in a 12-man league.
Let's open up McConnell. The Brogdon. I knew about the Brogdon injury. I never thought through the Brogdon replacement. And McConnell's been having an okay season to begin with. So how's he?
Well, he's
37 there.
He's technically been a must-own player in 12-man leagues.
Absolutely, yes.
And I mean, if he's going to be, as long as it's a hit for Brogdon, I don't know the severity of it, but 32 and 34 minutes the last 2 games, his scoring is. And of course, he's gonna rack up dimes. But the rebounds too, it's kind of weird. He's on a 1-7 streak here, so we'll see what happens. I mean, if you got injuries, you could do worse. I like TJ McConnell here quite a bit, 53% owned. So he should. I think in 12-man leagues, he needs to be owned just as your worst player at least.
This guy feels like a must-own in a 10-team league, especially with the Brogdon injury. And I mean, now we're flirting in like 8-team league territory, where it's like, okay, what's your guard situation? Like, get really specific to your unique situation. But if you need a guard in an 8 or a 10-team league, this is a guy I'm calling on.
Well, because I mean, we primarily play in points league. If you play in a categories league, this guy needs to be able to, like, with those assists. Like, this is your little assist booster, and he does a pretty good job racking up some steals in spurts every now and then too. So I like TJ.
And very low turnover for a point guard. I mean, he checks a lot of the boxes.
So he's definitely on the list here. There was one guy I wanted to talk about, and it's Dorian Finney-Smith for the Dallas Mavericks. Who, if you just got to be patient with him, the thing I like the most, though, is his minutes. Very high minutes here. Now, he needs to get consistent with the scoring. I don't like seeing the 6, but if he can just hover around 11 to 12 as a bad game here, he's going to do something pretty crazy, maybe once a week here. So I think this might be a trend that I would want to maybe attach myself to and see what happens. Dallas is just playing some good ball. I've noticed them in the standings move up. So you're picking up a starter on a team that wants to avoid that play-in game and maybe hop the Lakers. So any thoughts on or should we open up the Mavericks, I guess?
Yeah, let's open them up. And I like the Dorian Finney-Smith call-out. He's a guy I've definitely owned this year a couple different times, and I bet he's been one of those kind of community bicycle types that's been ridden around by a lot of people. Yeah, he's got a fun he's been waiver list.
So we'll go look at the Mavericks by themselves here.
No, but Finney Smith he's been getting big minutes all season. You called out the reason for his upturn though. It's the Mavericks themselves. They're much more competitive. They're playing much better. Offense is really starting to click. KP, Luka, everything's kind of falling into place. And then I mean, there's very few things easier than like catching passes from Luka Doncic and shooting wide open threes. So I think he's in a perfect situation to produce.
And I guess the other guy that was on my watch list here that we didn't talk about was Jalen Brunson, who he's just super reliable. He's technically getting like fringe starter minutes, almost 30, 25, 33. But just look at what he's done the last 2 weeks. I mean, maybe you throw out this weird 13-point game. I don't know what happened in that one with 34 minutes, but the rest of this is starting to look pretty good. And if Luka takes a night off, like you're getting something pretty nice here. So I think in 12-man leagues, this is a guy here that I think has some staying power. And because I don't know, because we have that NBA list where I lined up all the score or the total games per week, and I think the Mavericks were towards the top of that list come playoff time. So this is a guy to just file away. If you want to pick him up now, you can. But man, I like Jalen Brunson quite a bit. Do you have anybody else here that you like?
I mean, the Mavericks are the kings of like getting kind of middle to slightly above tier, above average, like college star players, especially guys who like stay for, like upperclassmen, guys who go to their sophomore and certainly maybe even their junior year, and turning them into useful NBA players. Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dwight Powell. Those are some guys that are on their roster right now that have been pretty productive for them. I love what they're doing. I love their kind of style, and Brunson fits it really well. I feel like he's kind of for the first time kind of living up to what we thought he could be, like Apex Brunson, and he's really good. I like him a lot. I'm glad you called him out because I don't think about him much. I haven't talked about him in a while, and he's definitely on a kind of a nice little steady Eddie streak. And I think he's the caliber of player, based on his college pedigree and everything, that I think could do that in the NBA in the right opportunity. So I like him.
But I just wanted to pull up the depth chart here for Dallas. So of course, Luka, Josh Richardson. I think Josh Richardson probably needs to be owned too. Do you own Josh Richardson?
I used to. I don't anymore. I drafted him. Trey Burke is one of those guys that fits into that college upperclassman system too. That's funny. I love this. This roster is hilarious to me.
Yeah, it's very littered with a lot of DDs and O's, but I just think Brunson's kind of worked himself into there where he's kind of like he's their sixth man.
Yes.
So he's going to be a vital part to their success the rest of the way. But I just want to pick up. I see a question here from Justin, and he's asking us, should he pick up Bruce Brown, Danny Green, or McDaniel? So we're gonna go to our air tool, and we are going to
let's do the tool. My gut is telling me probably McDaniels is the guy we want, but I have not. I have to admit I haven't seen a Danny Green stat line in maybe since 2019. So I'd love to see it.
Green he made my waiver wire list, I think the last two shows. He had been playing some pretty good ball. I guess in the last 7 days, he's actually the best scorer, averaging about 24.4, Bruce Brown 22.6, and McDaniels 21.5. But the numbers are also with McDaniels, having to deal with Malik Beasley coming back, and then the Bruce Brown numbers aren't incorporating him being a starter while James Harden's going to be out. And then you look at the last 15, it's still Danny Green. You look at the last 30 days, and it's still Danny Green takes a big lead. So 20. Let's open up Mr. Green here. What are we missing here? So the minutes have kind of been on a downtrend. You see he was in the 30s up at the end of March here. Now he's kind of hovering, tops out about 26, 27.
Danny's also a guy, like, this depends on what you need him for. If you need something quick right now, Bruce Brown or Danny Green might be my answer. But if you need something long term, I kind of think Jaden McDaniels is the right choice because he's the best likelihood to stay hot Bruce Brown, when everyone's healthy, he's immediately useless. And Danny Green, he's one of those guys that, I mean, he's a playoff piece, right? He's that PJ Tucker mold in my mind. So like, I feel like he might just get rested randomly in the playoff, like in your fantasy playoffs to prepare for the NBA playoffs. So depending on your needs, I'd say Bruce Brown or really any of these guys, I feel like you can't really miss if you need someone today. I'd probably go with Danny, maybe McDaniels for right now and McDaniels for long term.
I think I agree with that. McDaniels, if he's going to be averaging 35 plus minutes a game, that's where you want to put your points. But if you need a guy just for the week and you got someone on IR that you want to pull up later, Bruce Brown would be the guy, I think, for me, while James Harden is going to be out. KD is getting eased back in, so Bruce Brown should still be getting enough buckets there. So I think that's a pretty tough question there.
Yeah, if it's for the next 3 days, that's one of the harder questions I've had to answer in a while.
And then we got another old classic start bench cut with our guy Aiden here, and it's gonna. This is a good one. He's got some good names on this list here. So he's thrown in the Cruz,
Dorian Finney, Garland.
Yeah, this is
okay.
So this is kind of like probably a 10-man league looking situation here where you might have to drop one of these guys. So in the last 7 days, Garland is the clear leader in points, about 33 and about 27 to 28 for the other two. Over the last 15 days, you're looking at Garland and Kuzma are really close. Finney lags behind by about 6.5 points. In the last 30 days, Kuzma is the leader just by a little bit here. So I think based on these, it looks like Finney-Smith is probably the guy we're going to cast away. And
yeah, absolutely.
Between starting Kuzma and Garland. So I'm probably just going to start. I'm going to go with the hot hand, and it looks right now like it's Darius Garland averaging 33.6 points over the last 7 days. Ooh, he had a monster game last night. 37 points. Wow.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kyle.
I'll roll with that one. So we're gonna drop Dorian Finney-Smith. We'll play Kuzma and hold on. No, we're gonna bench Kuzma and we're gonna start Darius Garland there. So, but I'm trying to think. So where were we? We kind of got a little bit derailed here.
We were looking at the Mavericks for a little bit.
We can go back to the Mavericks.
No, you were going to the schedule. No, I like the schedule. Yeah, let's go to the schedule.
The schedule.
The point guard always knows best, Kyle.
So the magical schedule here. If we're just singling out week 15, I was telling people on because I uploaded my waiver wire show on Monday or Sunday night that, hey, the Pistons got 5 games this week. You should probably try to capitalize on one of those. As far as week 16, nobody sticks out, so we don't have a team to pick on. There's a ton of games or a ton of teams with 4. I think it's the same way week 17. But all of a sudden, week 18, first round of the playoffs, I think for most leagues, you got 3 teams with 5, and that's the Dallas Mavericks we've been talking about. That's Moses Brown and the Oklahoma City Thunder we've been talking about. And then the goddamn Toronto Raptors. So maybe we should spend some time looking at those 3 teams. We already kind of looked at the Mavericks. We've talked a lot. I think we talked a lot about the Thunder, and probably talked a lot about the Raptors. So I don't know. Maybe we poke our heads and look at some of those teams. But then again, back in week 19, the Detroit Pistons come back to the forefront here with their 5 games. And then week 20, championship week, look at these teams here that we're going to be all over. Memphis, San Antonio, Indianapolis, and Milwaukee. So this is kind of what I'm picking. Like I'm trying to slowly acquire players from these teams right now.
I'm trying to keep my pants on. Can you please do week 19 again, the same sort you did?
You're talking Detroit Pistons?
Remember last week when I said the most crazy thing I've said since LaMelo Ball is not going to be able to shoot a basketball, and that was that Killian Hayes is going to win someone a fantasy playoff or a fantasy playoff game or like week? That would be week 19. I'm calling it right now. I think if you have a good team and you are insane enough to believe me, I would try to pick up Killian Hayes if you have a trash piece that you can drop.
So the only issue that I see here is if I highlight these numbers here. So that 5 game week is sandwiched by 3 games. So if someone drops,
that's true.
drops him in week 18, I'm gonna pick him up I'm gonna hold on. So he's a guy you want to monitor. We still have a month left of basketball before we even get to this week 19. So who knows? Maybe there's some things that happen where maybe he just becomes, you have to hold on to him. He's getting 30 plus minutes per game kind of thing.
Maybe you're a stud squad with a bye week 1.
Ooh, dude. Speaking of,
I'm just speaking things. There's so many different league types out there. For the 5 of you where this is a relevant possibility, let me speak to the 5 of you right directly, and I'm going to look you in the eyes through the mic here. I think you should consider Killian Hayes for your guard spot if you're going to have a bye week 1 of the playoffs, which is week 18, and then week 19 you unleash Killian, and then whenever he has his last game, week 19. You drop them for a tasty treat for week 20. It's the perfect enjoy your ring, all 5 of you who that's relevant to.
So I just wanted to shout out real quick. I have sole possession of first place in this league. I don't know how. My team's not very good, but it felt we only one team gets a bye in this league with 7 teams making the playoffs. So
go look at the points for. I think you're like 3rd or 4th. You're not far behind there. Ooh, 50.
Kind of sneaking in here, man. I don't know.
You're what we call the statistical anomaly, Kyle.
Well, when you hit the PA, it's no secret why I'm doing what I'm doing. I've played the second easiest schedule, but for me,
sometimes that's what happens, man.
Because we're doing a first round Royal Rumble. There's going to be 6 teams, and only 3 teams are going to make it out. We're doing a point system. It's just like the football. It's a
my God.
Top 3 scores make it. Doesn't matter who you are matched up against.
I just want to be in the dance. It's fun to get invited to the dance. Let me put it that way. I think we all agree it's nice to be invited to the dance. I'm scratching and clawing, and I'm on the outside looking in.
I don't think you can make it in on points. You need,
not at all.
You need someone to slip up here. So it's going to be a race. But I don't know. Where were we here? So we were just talking. I'm going to probably be pulling up this schedule probably every Tuesday the rest of the week. I'll be pulling it up every Thursday the rest of the week. But if you're looking to do something kind of savvy, right now, I think it's and this is why I like the color system here. I want a team that's all green. So like Memphis, San Antonio, they have 4 games, at least every game the rest of the year. Same thing with even Washington, Phoenix. All these teams are very consistent with how many games they have the rest of the way. You're not getting one of these 3s, even though Dallas does have, a big 5 here that does kind of offset it. But I'm just looking closely at some of these teams here that are looking pretty good towards the end of the season. But I don't know. Anything else stick out here while we're looking at this?
I mean, the McConnell for the week 1 bye week 2 would be a lot of fun. Dallas, while they do have a 3 in their list, Dallas's 3 is outside of the projected fantasy playoffs. So there's some, if don't let those 3s scare you totally away. But yeah, I like those teams that have 20. I like that list of like 7, 8 teams that have 24 games or more for the remainder of the season, or starting next week, I think is the list, right? But that's a good group. I love that. So Phoenix, Washington, Toronto, OKC, the Spurs, the Grizzlies, and the Mavericks. And the Spurs and the Grizzlies have the most games in the fantasy playoffs total. Now it's, there's a lot of teams that have just 1 less than them, but the Mavericks do too. But yeah,
extra game. If you need that extra 22 points from Dorian Finney-Smith, you gotta do. But I did want to say here too is the Raptors make me a little nervous here, especially if I'm trying to get into the playoffs. It makes sense that week 18 you snag Malachi Flynn if things are going that way. But we can address that later. But the thing that I also wanted to look at is just total games the rest of the way from now. And again, it's just looking at these teams that have basically no white, no 3s the rest of the way. That's Memphis, San Antonio. I'll be okay with Dallas because they have the 5 here, so that kind of offsets it. But basically any of these teams towards the top, I'll even throw in Chicago, Charlotte, Portland can be one. Any of these teams towards the top of the list I think makes sense. But I don't know. This is we're getting
there's a lot of good teams.
So I did want to see what Aiden was asking about something here. He said to look at the Trailblazers. Let's take a peek at them real quick.
All right, yeah, that sounds great. They have your boy Norman Powell.
Stormin' Norman. So I have a good question here with this too, but I just want to say, let's just kind of read this. So Lillard, of course, been their best player over the last 7 days, 46 fantasy points. McCollum's averaging 39. Cantor sitting here with 25. Robert Covington with about 26. Norman Powell, though, the last 7 days, he's been heating up. He's averaging about 30 fantasy points. So it took him a little while to settle in, but he's getting more consistent, I think. The minutes, he's probably going to hover somewhere around that 30 minutes per game mark, but I like to see him kind of, getting settled and integrated into the office here. But Joseph Nurkic is back. Carmelo Anthony. What do you do with Carmelo Anthony? Is he a guy that you think about in a 12-man league? Probably not right now.
He was for a stretch of time, but yeah, right now for a 12-man league, I mean, he could be on your radar if you're really hurting for a forward, but I would say no. There's definitely in theory there should be better options out there for you.
So as far as Nasir Little popped up on my list, but I think it was a 1-game sample, so I didn't do anything with it. But 24 minutes, 13, 8, 2. It's kind of interesting. We'll see if he can kind of keep things. I don't know if he's going to average more than 20 minutes per game. I'll be interested, but we'll keep an eye on Nasir Little here. Anything else stick out here? Anything on Derrick Jones Jr.? What's Derrick Jones Jr. up to? Missing some games, still too inconsistent, I think, for fantasy, but. I don't know. Norman Powell, Robert Covington's been having a hell of a year. I don't think anyone talks about him, so we'll throw him some love real quick. He's been a really good.
Yeah, Roko's great.
I'm just wondering. He was a 6th-round pick this year, so he's been I think overperforming that pretty much all season. So I don't know. Portland's looking pretty good though. What's the? I just want to go back to the standings here.
See what standings are fun.
Football. So Portland sitting here at the 6th seed. They're probably going to hop over those Lakers, man. They're going to get
definitely.
Ooh, so was that last year the Nuggets versus Trailblazers? Was that a series last year? Those two were trading barbs in the playoffs.
Nuggets Blazers. It was Nuggets Jazz, and then it was Nuggets. Was it Blazers? It might have been Blazers. I don't know. I think it was
Blazers. I can't remember. But this is with just the Lakers kind of being like a dead fish right now. It's going to make some interest. Like you're going to push probably the Blazers past them for sure, and then we'll see if the Lakers can make that back. But you're looking at a potential Nuggets versus Blazers 4-5 matchup, round 1. That sounds fantastic. And then
Kyle, it was Lakers Blazers won it. Lakers with the 1, Blazers with the 8 last year. I'm almost positive of it.
Yeah, and well, I trust Aiden here. He says Blazers versus Lakers, so that's yep. The Blazers beat the Grizzlies to play into the thing there, so that does make sense. But man, I don't know. I'm getting now that so college basketball is finally done. This is the ramp up time for the NBA to get things looking how they want to look. So I think fantasy basketball is it's probably at the most exciting time right now. It's so damn warm out right now. You got John sending us videos of him hitting bank shots, just straight kisses off the backboard. I don't know. I'm excited to see what these teams do come playoff time here, but. We're going on about
we need to play a virtually a socially distant game of tag of pig over send me some videos of you hitting some bank shots now, Kyle.
Well, see, so my problem is I don't have I'd have to go to a park. I guess I could go to a park. I'm going to Green Bay this weekend, so I could send you some shots. I'll send you some shots maybe this weekend here. But I don't know, man. We're going on about 54 minutes on the show here. How do you want to wrap up tonight's show? Should I show off this new Jokic moment that I just picked up yesterday?
That sounds awesome. Yes, please do. It's a challenge moment, right? So you got the star,
you got the reward,
yeah.
I'm very disappointed with how these people are just treating some of these moments, man. They're just I don't know. I don't feel like they're being respected. I got number 947 of 6,751. I also got that.
That's awesome, Kyle.
I completed 2 rewards, but it's not really getting the Well, here's the moment here. Let me full screen it for you guys. So over Gobert too, just dirty Jokic right here. And this is what you think of when you're thinking of Jokic. So everything's just ooh. Now the one thing too is with this moment, were you aware that the Mike Conley moment got narrated by Conley?
Yeah, I heard about it. I haven't watched it yet, but I do. I also got the Conley challenge reward as well.
I think they need to start doing something to make these rewards more rare, more worth it. So I would love it if they could start, at least narrating every reward that they give out. That way, it makes people want to hold on to it, give it more value, because people are just kind of pumping and dumping them right now. But I don't know. It was a pretty cool moment here.
I love that one.
Going for about 190. That's fine. But I don't know, man. 5 minutes left here. Anything else on your mind? What's John doing?
Not too much, man. Just been working a lot. I'm in the middle of kind of a move, and and whenever I have a free moment, I'm either shooting shots outside and trying to prepare for what I've told is going to be the most physical basketball game of my life, and also going to be, and also just watching a lot of basketball. Tournament just ended last night. Lots of fun NBA action. It's basketball is kind of king in my world right now.
And I've actually been starting to get focused on the NFL draft coming ahead. We got that coming at the end of the month, so I'm kind of in both. This is my I love April as much. I really love when in the past when the NBA would start like early October, right? It would start October, and then you have like that first month of like basketball with football all lined up together. It just kind of feels like everything's kind of and then baseball's going on right now. So April's a fun month. There's a lot going on.
Did you watch that basketball game last night, the national championship game, Kyle?
So I watched the first 2 TV timeouts worth. So I watched the first 8 minutes, and I was like, well, I'm gonna box score watch for a little bit. I checked. I actually at halftime I was like, a 10-point game. I turned it back on, and then I was like they just didn't have any oomph. Anytime Gonzaga thought about making a move, Baylor was just way too quick to recover it and then just make it even get more out of hand. So impressive. Like Baylor, you couldn't have asked them to play a better game.
And when you start so strong like that, it creates this environment that the other team sometimes can't even overcome, and that seemed to be the case when they kicked them in the teeth right out of the gate, and Gonzaga never really figured it out after that. Mm-hmm. But I was going to ask you, because we're talking about kind of the blending of football and basketball in the air. Jalen Suggs, would you agree or disagree? He would make a reasonably good wide receiver at the NFL level.
He could play D. He could be a D back as well too. I think he can do whatever he wants. I'd have to see him I don't know. See him run some routes and stuff, but I think if he wanted to play receiver or defense, I could see his body type lining up pretty well to be an outside player. But I don't know, there was a ton of athletes on that court last night.
Yes.
How many of those guys do we expect to be drafted?
I have no idea. I mean, Suggs is a guaranteed top 5 pick, and I don't think the losing of the championship game impacts that one way or the other. Timmy seems like he's pretty much going to Timmy seems like he's going to be an NBA player. I cannot dunk, Aiden. No, that's why I shoot bank shots. That's why I use the bank. The glass it's a dead art form, my friend. I'm sorry.
I saw the moment you read the comment and you had this little flutter in your eye. We might, because we got that tournament coming up end of the month, we might lower it down to 9.5 feet. So we can get some tasty jams going on.
Oh my gosh!
Thought we're floating it out there right now.
Wow. I mean, I'm not gonna be able to dunk on 9.5 feet either. So the bank is open either way, Kyle.
I got a really good little it's kind of like a sky hook. I developed a shot that you can't defend. I'll put it that way. So I'm gonna float some of those around. But
do it. I love it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Very excited for that. Basketball's the best, and I love that you're paying attention to the NFL draft right now. I wanna know who you're looking at because I have one third round pick in our dynasty draft. I just looked at it like 3 days ago, and I have to hit a home run.
You only have one pick in the fellowship draft?
And before the 5th round, I only have one pick. I cashed in all my chips for Mahomes, and I decided I just ride with the youngins I had already.
What are you doing with Deshaun Watson?
I would like to hold him. I love Deshaun Watson, but the situation is bizarre.
Today was bad because those people came out and started talking about it. But I don't know. We'll get into that on another time, maybe off the air. But I don't know, man. I can I don't know. We should hang out off the air and we can talk some football prospects. But I did.
Love it.
If you're interested, I just uploaded today the fantasyfellowship.com. If you go here, you click on my 2021 NFL draft rankings. I got some things for you guys. I got 10 quarterbacks ranked. I got 16 running backs. I have 26 wide receivers and 13 tight ends. I'm going to probably start putting out more content as April gets on, just kind of loose videos and stuff. But rankings are there. Check them out if you want. Take a peek.
How many of those quarterbacks and tight ends should be drafted in the first 3 rounds of a dynasty draft?
Here, I can go back to that list here. I found some interesting numbers here too. I was doing some research on this. Let me pull this up here. So NFL draft database. So this is just in the scope of the typical NFL draft, like a full 7 rounds every year. This is kind of why my numbers are the numbers. But every year, 12.4 quarterbacks will be drafted, 21.8 running backs, 32.2 wide receivers, and 13 tight ends. So I try to stick here. Now, I don't need to know 21 running backs for my fantasy football draft. I don't need to know 32 rookie receivers. So that's kind of what dictates my numbers. But in terms of quarterbacks being drafted in the first round, you're going to see 5. The top 5
of fantasy drafts.
Of fantasy draft. And so I guess it's going to depend super flex or non-super flex. For our super flex league, you're probably going to see 3, maybe 4, depending on where these teams land. It's going to be the quarterbacks is very rich this year. I'm not a big Zach Wilson fan. I think that might be a mistake here if the Jets do take him at 2. And then as far as running backs, 3 to 4 running backs will be in the first round of the draft. For receivers, you're probably looking at for sure these top 3 guys being in the mix. And then, of course, everyone knows the tight end Kyle Pitts is going to be the stud that everyone tries to acquire. So
Pitts going to be he's going to be a first rounder.
Yeah. So
fantasy.
If you're looking at 12 picks in a round here, you're looking at least probably because we play super flex. So I'm going to assume there's going to be 4 of those. There's going to be 3 to 4 running backs, 3 to 4 receivers, and at least one of these. I guess just this one tight end here. So we'll see.
Crazy. I love that. I like a tight end getting in the first round. I feel like that doesn't happen very much for fantasy. Look at all that bonus content for the people. I'm telling you, people, you're getting so much more than you're paying for this for content right now. The Kyle's schedule, his NBA fantasy or his NBA schedule grid is gold. So hope you're enjoying it.
And we'll pull that up every Tuesday. I want to get Drake's thoughts on it next week. And then again, I go live on Thursday night. So if you're still listening, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you're new. We're trying to hit that 300 subscriber goal, hopefully soon before the NFL draft. But I don't know. John, any final thoughts here? Are we ready to get out of here?
Love you guys. Thanks for listening. I'm going to keep working on my dunks, Aiden.
Maybe on the 9-footer?
Give me a 9, and I'll slam a jam of some. But 9.5 might be a little too tall for me still.
Because I had the ESPN page pulled up. Did you see the Caruso dunk the other day?
I did not.
Oh, you got a minute, real quick? Should I pull it up?
I got time. We got to end the basketball show with a basketball highlight. I feel like
just because we are top shot people. I mean,
true.
This one needs to be top shotted. So we'll go to Caruso. Let's see if I can find.
I feel like I need a Caruso challenge. Just collect all the Caruso moments and then get this Caruso dunk.
Let me see here. I just saw it on the ESPN page here. So we're going to it. Not that one. Where is this dunk? No, that's an old one. It's this one on the right here. I don't know where to find it. But I think that's over Harrison Barnes. Here, let me dunk Kings. Where are you? No. Dang it, Twitter. You're letting me down here. But you can kind of see it here on the right side of the screen.
You're not sharing your screen.
I'm not sharing the screen. That's probably not helping. Okay, so this is the only one I could find. It's kind of a split screen of another dunk that happened early in the game, but Caruso's is on the right side of the screen here. And I thought, I mean, it's Caruso, one of the just the whitest guys on the court, but he gets an inbound pass and he just spreads.
That's very smooth.
So
I like that.
And then the
both those dunks are cool.
Yeah, both these dunks need to be top shotted. So, but anyways, gonna do it for tonight's show. Thank you guys so much for your time. We'll see you next Tuesday. Peace.